What does the word enlightenment actually mean? What does an enlightened person look like? If you were enlightened, how would you know? When we ask big questions like these, often we find more follow-up questions than actual answers. But we need answers. An unanswered question is like a tilted picture frame. It just isn't right to leave it hanging. This is Hakuin Ekaku. More accurately, this is a portrait of Hakuin Ekaku. He didn't look like this, probably. Hakuin spent his whole life asking big questions and giving bigger answers. Today, we're going to learn about those answers, and maybe we'll figure out what enlightenment actually is. Hakuin became arguably the greatest Zen master of all time. He reinvented the Zen practice, revitalized the spiritual world, and reconceptualized the meaning of Satori. But Hakuin didn't start his life as a Zen master. Hakuin started his life as a scared, lonely boy. Born in 1685, Hakuin lived his first 11 peaceful years out in the Japanese countryside. But everything changed when Hakuin learned of the 8 hot hells, a story told by a village priest of the violent, eternal hellfire that awaits all who do not escape its grasp. Hakuin spent the next 4 years in complete agony. He became so intensely afraid that he would start spontaneously weeping at the sight of fire. But Hakuin did not give in to his fears. Every single day, he obsessed over his belief in the impending doom of never-ending hell. He started every day before the crack of dawn, waking up at the first rooster's crow. He showered with buckets of cold ice water. He prayed to the gods. He studied ancient texts, but none of it made a difference. Hakuin still shook to the core with agony of mortal fear. After 4 years of prayer, Hakuin began his pilgrimage. He decided that if self-study was not powerful enough to supplant his terrors, then he would have to go all in and become a priest. Hakuin traveled from temple to temple, all the while becoming more obsessed with his pursuit of Zen. Every day, Hakuin immersed himself in the study of ancient arts. Scripture, calligraphy, painting, literature, all of it was in hopes of understanding the meaning of Satori and avoiding the inevitable. He honed his spiritual skills through the study of Koans. A koan is an intentional paradox designed to inspire creative thinking and push the reader to think beyond traditional logic and reason. Hakuin spent day and night meditating on deep, unsolvable questions. He spent the next 9 years of his life like this. But Hakuin grew upset. He despised his teachers and fellow pupils for their laziness, cowardice, and lack of meaningful interaction with the outside world. The other monks seemed to lack the same concern with death or true enlightenment, instead preferring to sit around and hang out, which Hakuin termed do-nothing Zen. So Hakuin spent more time with books than people. At age 23, walking through the temple library of ancient texts, Hakuin became fed up with the amount of buried knowledge. Despite his fatigue, it was at this moment when Hakuin made his first breakthrough. He believed that he finally figured out life's mysteries through the great koans. Finally, he thought, he'd become enlightened. He finally understood the meaning of the universe and the concept of Satori. Overjoyed, Hakuin left his temple to continue his pilgrimage, but his joy ended when he met a real Zen master, Shoju Rojin. Hakuin immediately realized that he knew nothing after confronting the brutal Master Rojin and his extreme practices of isolation, physical punishment, and rigorous koan study. Unlike Hakuin's former teachers, Rojin cared about more than self-preservation. The Zen instructor devoted himself to the lifelong gifting of Satori to his pupils by insisting on the importance of continual practice, training, and mentoring others. From Rojin, Hakuin started from square one, relearning the koans, meditating for days on end with only half a handful of rice per day, and hardly sleeping a wink. Hakuin kept practicing. But it was during this post-Satori period, at age 24, when Hakuin realized he still knew nothing. The Satori, the awakening of the mind, he could not explain nor understand the fundamental nature of the enlightened mind. Despite his dissatisfaction, Hakuin pressed on. Over the next 8 years, he continued his journey across Japan, teaching fellow monks the daily practice of koan study and deep meditation. All the while, Hakuin concerned himself with integrating the inner peace of his Zen practice with the noisy existence of everyday life. But no amount of temple hopping made him feel complete. No matter how many times he reached the gate of Satori, Hakuin kept falling back to his fixations on his own mortality and suffering. So at age 31, Hakuin cut his travels short, settling down at the temple Shoenji. 10 years passed. Hakuin grew older. All the while, the Zen teacher never lost sight of his childhood dreams, or more accurately, his childhood nightmares. His ceaseless creativity for Zen arts, his complete fixation on attaining post-Satori practice, and his obsessive criticism of the so-called do-nothing Zen schools never waned. Instead, Hakuin, now 41 years old, found another breakthrough. It all happened in an instant. Reading through the Lotus Sutra, Hakuin realized that Satori is not the endpoint of the Zen journey. Enlightenment is not the absolute human condition of understanding. Satori is simply the beginning gate for the much longer and more meaningful journey of passing the craft on to others. Hakuin finally understood that teaching others carried a deeper meaning beyond personal status and satisfaction. From that moment on, until the day he died, Hakuin reoriented himself from inward practice to dedicated outward expression, teaching hundreds of monks and inspiring thousands more to use Zen to gift others by assisting in the attainment of Satori for future generations. Hakuin revived the art of Zen by ruthlessly and constantly standing up for his beliefs. He criticized the lazy, selfish, so-called Zen practitioners who more closely resembled shut-ins than the shepherds of Buddhist doctrine. For the last 43 years of his life, Hakuin kept teaching. Word of the innovative and inspiring teachings of Master Hakuin spread around the nation. Thousands of dedicated students flooded his rundown temple just for the chance to meet the legendary Zen master. To the very end, Hakuin, the same man who used to cry at the sight of a flame, now boldly led the next generation of Zen students with everything he had. Hakuin died in 1768. In 1884, Emperor Meiji awarded Hakuin the title of Shoshu, the last national master distinction of that kind to ever be given. But we still don't know. What is enlightenment? What does Kensho look like? What does Satori feel like? The truth is, these are all loaded questions, because we can never understand a feeling without experiencing it. We can guess, but anything we come up with will feel hollow, frustrating, and incomplete. Zen takes work. Enlightenment, assuming it's real, takes a long time to truly understand and obtain. But that's kind of the point, because if there's anything we've learned, it's this. Being a Zen master doesn't mean being the most happy, the most relaxed, the most peaceful, or the most studied. Being the greatest Zen master means helping other people, because no one cares how enlightened you are. Were you familiar with Hakuin Ekaku before watching this? Will you remember him a year from now? Probably not. But when we're thinking about enlightenment, none of that really matters. We can't peer into our hearts and minds to know for sure what enlightenment means. All we can do is help ourselves by helping others. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night.